Just waiting on that notification, Brother Prince.
Yes, sir. Very good. How your brother doing?
He's doing well. Okay, boom, perfect, Brother Prince. We are live. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than Brother Prince Muhammad out of Savannah, Georgia. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir.
This means a lot to us that you would take time out of your busy schedule to give us to come by and pull up on the People's Podcast. How has your day been going?
Oh, it's been going wonderful, brother, and I'm honored to be on the People's Podcast, brother. I truly am. I watch you every Saturday and every chance that I get.
Praise be to Allah. I didn't know that. Yes, sir. Well, Brother Prince, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I first heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1968. I was at a Pan-African meeting. I was about 17 years old, and I was trying to be a Pan-African at that time. And we went to Penn Center in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
And they was having a convention over there. And I was with a brother by the name of William Green. They had a newspaper that they was trying to produce in the city of Savannah called The Changing Times. And they recruited me and taught me how to be the layout assistant. And they were having this convention over at Penn Center in Beaufort. And I went with them. And when I was at the event, it was a young man. He had two sisters with him. And he was wrangling back and forth with the moderator in the event. And he was so strong in his presentation. I kept looking at him, and everybody was against him. And him and those two sisters that was with him, they were standing right beside him. And they were real strong. And he just kept talking, and they couldn't defeat his argument, you know? And I kept saying to myself, who that brother is? And after the event was over with, I said, I don't know who that brother is, but I want to be what he is. And it took me a while to realize that he was a member of the Nation of Islam. And I didn't know it, but his argument was so powerful and so strong, the Pan-Africans was not with him, but it did not sway him from standing on his principles and his point. And he attracted me with his strength, and I wanted to be whatever he was. And later on that year, brother started doing some work in the city of Savannah for the Nation of Islam, and they had a little study group on Jefferson Street in Savannah. And the minister there was Brother Yasami. And we used to go there on Friday night, and I used to listen to the teaching. And that was the time when they had the sign on the wall, which one would win in the war of Armageddon. You know, yes, had Christianity and Islam, the war with Christianity with Islam. And Brother Sammy was in there just to teaching, you know. And I would go there every chance I got, you know. And they tried to recruit me at that time, but I told them I was going to come and I was going to help them. But I had one little pound of reefer to smoke. And when I got finished with it, I'd be with them. And they left one, it was February. And they left on their way to New York. And they said that they were going to Savior's Day and they wanted me to go. And I told them, no, I couldn't go. I didn't have any funds. They said, you don't need me. Come on, brother, get in the car. And I said, no, I'll be with y'all when you come back. And so I left and I went doing what I was doing in the world. And tragically, I sustained a gunshot wound when I was 19 years old. And I didn't get a chance to go back to the mosque. And I stayed out in the world doing what I was doing until 1985, when I heard Power That Lasts Forever at Madison Square Garden, when the minister stood back up. And when I saw the minister and that teaching it, and they had a tape out saying, A Birth of a Nation, the rebirth of a nation. Yes, and I saw that tape and I said, Lord, I got to help the minister. And I started sending him donations by mail. And they were sending answers back, you know, and stuff. And there was nobody doing the work in the city of Savannah at that time. And in 1990, added up at in Atlanta at the Omni. It was at the Omni. 1990, I took my family and my wife with me at that time. And it was called Stop the Killing Tour. And the minister was teaching really hard. I said, Lord have mercy, I need to find out where they're at because I wanted to change my life. I had been in the world doing things that people like me do in the world. And I wanted to come out from that. And I came back to Savannah, and Brother Sheldon in 1991, later on that year, I think it was later on that year, in 1991, he came from Atlanta. He had just got his ex, from my understanding, maybe less than a year prior. And he started doing the work, him and another brother named Brother Anthony. And they were selling the bean pies and slices of cakes and stuff. And I met him and I told him who I was. And he said, brother, I was looking for you. A brother by the name of Brother Yusef told me if I had anything to sell of the Nation of Islam products or anything had to do with the Nation of Islam, to find Brother Prince, that he would buy it and he would support it. And when I ran into him, he told me that he was looking for me. And I told him that I was looking for him. And so we got together. And he said he wanted to start a study group in the city of Savannah. Him and Brother Anthony was together. And I told him I wanted to help. And he said that they was having meetings at a place called Project Love on Price Street in the city of Savannah. And that we was going to have our meetings there. A young Christian preacher by the name of, I think his name was Carl Gilliard at the time. He was allowing us to use the facility. And we was meeting there. It was on a Wednesday night. We were meeting there, and Brother Juan would come from Hilton Head, South Carolina, to share the word with us, because at that time, he was the only registered one among us. And we were having meetings there, but other factions of Islam would meet there too, like Brother Ali and Brother Yusef then, who was with the World Missionary Muslim Community at that time. And when we got in there, they were, talking and teaching, and they were not teaching the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad based upon what I knew from what Brother Samuel had been teaching us earlier. And I got angry with them. I said, brother, I come to hear the Methodist teaching. I didn't come to hear this. So I said, come on, Brother Frank, let's go. Brother Frank and I were working together at the time. He was more of like a lieutenant to me at that time. Good brother, very good brother. And we got ready to leave, and Brother Sheldon stopped me. And I told him, I said, brother, we ain't got to put up with this here. I said, I got a nickel over lunch money right now, and I can get us a building. And he told me, no, don't do anything. Let me talk with my minister. At that time, Brother Van was a regional minister in Atlanta. And he told Brother Van that he had met this brother who loved Islam in the city of Savannah and wanted to help him to get a building. Brother Van said, is he registered? And he said, no. He said, Brother Van told him to hold that right there. The first thing before we do anything, he need to get that X. And because there was a little problem that was going on in Atlanta with Dr. Collard at that time. That's when he was going through his trials, if you know what I mean. And so Brother Sheldon told me, said, this time we don't want no funds, Brother Prince. We want you to join the ranks. So I told him, okay, what do I need to do? So he said, brother, you need to process. We didn't have a processing class or anything at that time. He gave me a letter and told me to write the letter. And before, I'm going to digress a little bit. I'm going to go back just a little bit. Before I wrote the letter, we started meeting outside of Project Love, because Project Love, they got a little upset with what we were doing once they found out that we were Muslims. They didn't want us to come back to Project Love. So we left off Project Love and went on Abercorn Street upstairs to, the Black Papers. That's what it was called. The Black Papers upstairs. And I started going there with Brother Sheldon, Brother Juan, Brother Herbert, Brother Anthony, Brother Frank. We started growing a little bit there, And so Brother Sheldon said he needed 5 brothers who would give, I think it was $75 or $35 a month to support the rent on a building that he had his eye on. And so we agreed to support the building that he had his eye on. And he found us a place on Waters Avenue. I think it was 1401 Waters Avenue. And he came to me and told me he had found the building. And I had gotten sick at the time from doing what I wasn't supposed to be doing in that world, using drugs and what have you. And I couldn't join him at the building. So I asked him what was uh, uh, the price of the building. And he told us what the price was. So I gave him my portion. But at that same time, he said they was trying to raise some money to get 50 Final Call newspaper. I think it was 50. I might not be correct on 50. Could have been 100 Final Call newspaper. No, it was 500. Excuse me. That's what it was. It was 500 Final Call newspaper, not 50, 500. Thank you. And he told me what the amount of it was. And I gave him the money to get the papers. So I told him when I got well, I'll come and join him and Brother Anthony and the rest of the brothers at this building. Took me about a month and I got well and I went to join them at the building. And I came up outside the building and I was driving my car and I blowed the horn and they all came out. And of course, you know, I'm in a wheelchair. And so they helped me get out the car into my chair. Well, they handed me the chair and I jumped out into it and we went on inside and we started to work. And that was 30 years ago, brother. And I'm so happy to know that we all are still here after 30, going on 31 years, struggling here in the city of Savannah, trying to make the word of God real and establish a strong Islamic community. We started at 1401 Waters Avenue with, like I said, with the first 5 of us. And we started doing the work. And Brother Van was the regional minister, and Brother Tony Muhammad, but I think Holder, brother, he was studying the ministry, young at that time. Him and his family was coming to Savannah to help us to get established. And we kept working and working, not preventing trials. We had trials and we struggled, but we got it up off the ground, and we started putting the work in, and we started growing. And in 1992 was our first Savior's Day. We went to Atlanta for our Savior's Day at the Georgia Dome. They had just opened it. And it was having the World Series at that same time. You know, we went up against the World Series, and we had 40,000 people in the Georgia Dome that listened to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at that time, you know? I mean, and we worked hard to make that happen. It was a wonderful experience because that was my first one. And they asked those of us who could come in early to help with selling the paper and the tickets, you know, to come in. So me just being a member and being excited, I want to participate in everything. So me and my little old wife at the time, I was still married at that time, we packed up everything and we rented a room at the Red Rooster because we could cook inside the room. You know, she had her bean pots and whatnot, and we went on in the room and I went to the mosque. And when I got to the mosque, they had brought Captain Curtis in from Carolina. I think he was in Columbus or Charleston. He had just recovering from a back surgery. But from my understanding, he was a motivator of men, you know, so they brought him in. And I was there, and me and many, many other brothers, I didn't know anybody at the time because I was new, and I was the only one out of the city of Savannah that was able to go 3 days ahead of time. And so I went, and my spirit just carried me there, and I had such a good time soldiering with those brothers. They put me with a bunch of older brothers, because I'm older. They put me with a bunch of older brothers out of New York City and New Jersey, and I soldiered with them. And the spirit was so in me at the time that I was selling the paper and the tickets, and I sold so many papers and so many tickets that when it was time to go inside the building, the brothers from New Jersey, number 27, they gave me a DVD. Mm-hmm. And it was a DVD of the minister, but they had music attached to it. And I never heard of a DVD with music. I had the music, and he was teaching hard, and they had the music attached to it. You know, my first time ever getting a DVD with him giving a lecture with music attached to it. And it was very exciting to me, and I enjoyed it. And so we went on inside the Georgia Dome. They had a long line. So when I got into the line, because I didn't know any better, I got into the line. One of the brothers who was soldiering with me from New Jersey, they told the captain who was in charge of the detail, who I was and how hard I had soldiered. So they came and got me out the line and told me, no, brother, you can come on through this door. And they let me through the door and with the brother, and I went on inside the arena. And right when I got ready to go inside the arena, a girl interviewed me. And if you go back to that tape, you will see me saying, all that can have eyes, all that can have ears, to come hear this divine man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it was something like that. It's not word for word, but if you go back to Saviour's Day at the Georgia Dome, 1992, you'll see me being interviewed by some of the news people there about the minister in the Nation of Islam. And it was overwhelming to me because that was the first time that I had been to an event. And then someone saw me. I guess I looked like a Muslim and, to interview me. And I was excited. And so I said those words. If you look at the tape, you'll see me doing it, right? 1992. And it was wonderful. And the brothers from Savannah by that time, they came up and I united with them. And we went on and had a time at the 1992 Saviour's Day Convention at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, Georgia. Wonderful time. Then we came back to Savannah full of that spirit, and we started really putting in some good work. And we started pushing the Final Call newspaper. We started having our classes, and we started putting some really, really good work. At that time, Brother Tony was coming down, and he was alternating with Brother Juan. And one day that, because we was just starting really good, and we needed to give Brother Tony a little love offering to help sustain him and his family as they came from Atlanta back and forth to teach us in Savannah. And Brother Van had came to, I was the secretary at that time, in the mosque. I didn't have just about all the positions. I was the secretary at the mosque at that time. And Brother Tony was coming down, and one day, Brother Juan, Brother Sheldon decided that we didn't need him to come down anymore. That money that we could given him, we could have kept it for ourselves. And Brother Van came to have a meeting with us to find out why we didn't want Tony. I still wanted him myself, but it didn't make me any difference. I just wanted to be taught. And they said that we could handle it from this point forward, and apparently they were right. Because we didn't drop the ball. He left, but we didn't stumble. We kept rolling right on the line. Brother Juan stayed with us for several months, and he eventually left and came back to Atlanta. And one night we were in Atlanta. During that time, we used to have to go to FY classes a lot in Atlanta. And it was a Saturday. We went to Atlanta, and Brother Captain Curtis was conducting the FY class. And we had gotten at 7 o'clock that morning. It was about maybe 6 or 7 o'clock that night. And we stood in class. You know how it used to be back in them days. I mean, we used to have classes, but nobody got tired. Nobody complained. We loved it. I know I did. And so Brother Curtis said, Brother Prince, I was sitting not in the back, but I was sitting close to the back. He said, Brother Prince, I heard that you were doing some storefront preaching and in Savannah. And I looked at him. I didn't know where he heard that from, but I said, kind of, no more than the rest of the brothers. He said, Brother, would you like to join the ministry? I opened my mouth and my eyes kept open, and I didn't think anybody would pick me to be a part of the ministry, And I told him I didn't know. So he said, Brother, you look like the deer that got struck by the headlights. I was startled. And so he said, well, Brother, want to keep on teaching until you get your feet underneath you, And I said, yes, sir. And we went on back to Savannah. And we started doing the work. And Brother Juan was in, and Hilton Head, he was coming back and forth. I think his dentist was in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. I never did get the gist of it, but he had a toothache. He said his mouth was bothering him. And he went to see his dentist. I guess it was in Atlanta, but he wound up in Atlanta. And I kept, I started teaching on Sundays, and we kept rolling on down the tracks. And he had gone for about about a month or 2 months. And Brother Captain Curtis asked who was doing the teaching. And I told him I was doing the teaching. He said, Brother Juan is up here. I said, yes, sir. He said, who down there teaching? I said, well, I was doing it, sir. He said, well, brother, go keep on doing it, And so I kept on doing it with God's help because I didn't think I had the ability, the skills, or the talent to be a minister in the Nation of Islam. All those brothers are brilliant, smart, and what have you. I'm out of the street. So I didn't think I was fit to be a minister. I still don't think it right now today. But Allah is God, and he blesses in whom he pleases. And so I had no problem. I had a nice group of brothers that was working with me and sisters. And we started to work, brother. We really went to work. We started pushing the Final Call newspaper. Brothers started coming out. We went as high as 3,000 Final Call newspapers in the city of Savannah a week. And we were blessed to be put in the top 10 of the Final Call newspaper, the top 10 cities who distributed the Final Call. We made the top 10 3 times. We got 10, 9, and 8. We didn't get any higher than 8, but we did it 3 times. And we were really pushing the program. The brothers was coming out. We were excited. Things were going real well. And in 1994 is when the rubber really hit the road. The minister had this epiphany that he would like to see 1 million men meet him in Washington. And we began to go to our classes, and we began to get the instructions of what he wanted us to do in our various cities to help him get 1 million men to Washington. And boy, we went to work. And I spoke at churches. I spoke on street corners. I spoke at the Longshoreman Hall. I spoke at several different churches, and we worked it really hard. The sisters thought I wasn't going to make it because we were putting in so much work. I told them I was going to go. If I had to go on a stretcher, I was going to be at the Million Man March. So I'm worried about that, but Allah blessed us, and we kept working. Then we formed the LOC, the Local Organizers Committee.
Yes, sir.
And we had it over at the Longshoreman Hall, 1414, and a lot of them participated in it, and we worked it tirelessly. And I believe that this is what I say, that we took 1,000 or more men to the Million Man March. That's what I say, because we had 5 buses that we filled up from Savannah. We worked at Beaufort too. We brought 2 buses in from Beaufort. Savannah State College sent over a bus with their students in it. We had a couple of churches that had buses in the column. And when we got ready to leave to go to the march, all the buses and the cars, I still had about 20 or 30 men that wanted to go. And I said, I made a promise we weren't going to leave nobody that who really wanted to go to the march. So I asked the sisters, I had some really good sisters working with me. I'm here to tell you, brother, the sisters are the backbone. If you get them sisters, them brothers will follow them sisters. I'm telling you, you get them sisters. That's how Reverend built a big church. He knew that if he went after those sisters, that those sisters would make those men follow them, And the sisters, we had a hard group of working sisters in Savannah, and we had a cooking team, bar none. Well, we had a senior sister called Sister Kanat Mudawasan, who was a personal friend of the minister from March number 7 in New York. And she was our mother, and she nurtured us, and she taught us. One day she called me to the side. She said, Brother Prince. I said, yes, ma'am. She's coming, let me tell you something. I said, what? She said, don't let them change you. I said, ma'am? She said, don't let them change you. I didn't know what she was saying. She said, I've seen so many of them like you come, and they changed me. Don't let them change you. She said, what you need to do, that energy and that spirit that you use out in that world to be successful, you use that same energy and that same spirit to be successful here. But you know what I mean? You were doing wrong with the energy, not turn it around, do 180 and do right with it, but don't let them change you, And that stuck with me. And we really went to work. And when I got back, I got a big trophy that they gave me for the Million Man March. I'm proud of it, too. The sisters did. And they gave it to me, Brother Minister Prince, for his hard work and for the Million Man March. I got the trophy. I should have had it sitting up here so you can see, but I didn't want to brag and show off.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But they gave me a trophy for that, and it was wonderful. We had a great time putting on that event. And then when we got back, that's when we really went to work, because the local organizing committee was the LOCs, and the minister did not want us to have the local organizing committee meetings at the mosque or the study group. He wanted it to be at a neutral area because he didn't want the people to think that it was a Nation of Islam thing. He wanted it to be that it was a community effort, you know, and it's the responsibility of the Black man to make his home and his neighborhood a safe and decent place for him and his woman to live in.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
know?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the LOC was very prominent. We also had our meetings at the ILA in Savannah too, and our first president was a member of the ILA, Eugene Artis. He was that, you know. So we went over there. I went and talked with the Floyd Adams was trying to run for mayor at that time. Am I talking too much, or you want to ask me some questions?
No, I had some questions, but go ahead. Go ahead, I'm right with you.
Okay, but Brother Floyd Adams was trying to run for mayor back in 1996, and we just come back from the march, you know, and he came to us and asked for our support. So we put on our shirts. We produced some shirts say, "I'm one in a million." That's what the shirt said in the front, and on the back of the shirt it said, "We support the Million Man March." And so I went to the group and told the group that we wanted to back Floyd Adams to become the first Black mayor of the city of Savannah. So they said, okay. We put on our T-shirts and our hats, because I had hats too. And we put on our T-shirts and hats and we passed out the flyers, and we registered on a Saturday, 3,000 unregistered Black voters. And Floyd Adams won the mayoral campaign by 3,000 votes, you know? And all of the people that was on his campaign, they came and told me, Muhammad, he owe you something. But at that particular time, I didn't know what quid pro quo was. You know? I didn't know what it was. So they kept saying, he owe you something, you know? He owe you something. I didn't know. And then they say that I was slighted. I didn't know. I'm out of the world. I'm being cultivated and I'm being refined and I'm being educated by Muhammad. You know, all praises due to Allah for the great teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, and so I didn't know. All I wanted to do was be a servant and help. And so he went. Brother Majid was at the World Missionary Muslim Community on 34th Street in Savannah, which was one of the older facilities of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When Wallace then took over, they turned it into the World Missionary Muslim Community. And when Floyd Adams won the campaign, he wanted to have ecumenical relationships. So he wanted a Baptist preacher, or excuse me, not a Baptist, he wanted a Christian preacher, and he wanted a Muslim preacher to open his ceremony up in prayer. And they thought that he was supposed to come ask me to do it because I worked with them and we registered 3,000 unregistered voters. But he went to Brother Majid, and Brother Majid said the Muslim prayer, and a Christian preacher said the Christian prayer. And it didn't matter to me, but that did happen. And so after later on, he came to see me and act as though he didn't know the difference in the two communities. He said, Brother Mr. Prince, I'm so sorry, I didn't know the difference. And I let him get away with it and say, yes, sir, yes, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? We didn't do it for any notoriety. We did it because it was the right thing to do to support you, you know? And so we did that. And Edna Jackson, God bless her soul, she ran along with him as one of the county commissioners. And 12, 14, 16 years later, she became a mayor too, also of the city of Savannah. And it was due to our effort back in 1996 with Brother Floyd Adams. And then we kept working in 1996, and the minister, we had what we call Black Family Day. At Black Family Day, we had it at Civic Center, the biggest arena in the city of Savannah. We had 12,000 people to come to be with us on Black Family Day. And your uncle, Regional Minister Jamil Muhammad, was our regional minister at the time. He came down and gave the keynote address. We had a wonderful time. It was called Black Family Day in the city of Savannah. And we had our little shirts for that too. We had T-shirts on with a Black man, his wife, and his son and daughter, you know,
yes, sir.
Having a day together. And it was called Black Family Day, 12,000 at the city of Savannah. And the next event we had was in 1999. 1997. It was the Holy Day of Atonement. During that time, we didn't have Zoom, and we had via satellite. You remember? And he wanted all, because it was a cost for you to have that in your city. So he wanted each city who was able to have the satellite broadcast of the Holy Day of Atonement in their city. He wanted them to write him a letter and let him know how many people came out, with their acceptance and the amount of their charity.
Yes, sir.
So we rented a high school gymnasium. It was Jenkins High School back in 1997. Holy Day of Atonement, 1997. We had it at Jenkins High School, and we had 300 people came out there. And we also raised good charity. I don't want to share the dollar amount, but we did very well with the charity. And so I wrote the letter and I sent it to him, not thinking no more of it, right? Then in 1998, we were blessed to have dinner with the minister in Atlanta. He wanted all of his Southern regional ministers to meet with him in Atlanta so we could have dinner with him. And at the dinner, we all came in. He had one of those big old suites, and he was having dinner in the room right next to it. They had it all fixed up nice and everything. And we all came in there. We were lined up. I'll never forget it, brother. We was lined up, and he was in his smoking jacket. This is cool as a cucumber, sitting up, in the smoking jacket after he done gave that powerful message, And not saying that the minister smoked. He had they call them smoking jackets. When you take your suit coat off, you put the other jacket on with the wrap around it. And he was sitting in the chair, and he got up to meet each one of us, and he was shaking our hands, asking us, what city we was from. And so when he got to me, he shook my hand, and he said, "Brother, you're my minister from Savannah." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I got a letter from you." I said, "You did?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh my God," he read my letter, and he shook my hand, and he bent over and he whispered in my ear, "Brother, you're gonna be successful." I mean, he blew me out the water when he said it. All I could do was, I was washed away then. I just sit back in my chair and just went to smile, and he went to the next brother, shook his hand and said whatever he had to say to them. Then we got down ready to eat. And the reason why I'm saying this, it was kind of key. We got ready to eat, but after he had said what he said, I was just overwhelmed. His cook came out of the area where she was at, and she saw how many of us was there. And he said, "I didn't know I had these many ministers in the Southern region. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough food for everybody." He said it smilingly. And we had Barbara Justice with the big, tall, they keep saying she was 7 foot. That sister was maybe 6 foot something, had this great big church in Atlanta. She died, I think, last year before. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
God bless her. She loved the minister, sweet sister, good woman.
Yes, sir.
And we was having dinner. So when she said that she didn't think that she would have enough food to feed everyone, me with my stupid self, I jumped up and said, "That's all right. I don't have to eat anything." And the minister didn't say a thing. He had his head down. I was sitting beside Brother Minister Rockmar, and Brother Minister Jamil was opposite me, right across from me. Ain't nobody said nothing. They just kept with the head down, right? And the minister said this. He didn't look up at me. He didn't say anything. He kept doing what he was doing. He said these words, and I will never forget. He said, "Brothers, it's disrespectful to fast in the presence of the messenger." And when he said that, I said, "My God, I'm so hungry I could eat a lion." And Brother Jamil and Brother Rockmaster, Brother Prince, I wonder what was wrong with you. I said, "I was just hungry. I just need to get some food in me, And so when they brought the food, I went to eating, and I wasn't fasting. I was overwhelmed with being in his presence. And I was just overwhelmed by what he had said. I didn't need no more after that, I was good. So I ate what was given to me, and I enjoyed it immensely. Had a great time because he was steady teaching. When they talk about table talks conversation, what they said about the messenger, because they wrote a book and I got it too, the table talk. Some of the best teaching ever was taught It was sitting around the table. You probably could write volumes of books. You probably could fill up a library on table talk conversation that the messenger had with him and his minister, and that the kind of table talk that the minister himself had with his minister, you know? Beautiful talk, beautiful conversation. Nothing but wisdom is being shared. You know, they say nothing but revelation. It is from our God.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
so that was what we did in 1997 and in 98. And in 1999, Brother Minister Jamil got rotated out, and Sister Minister Ava came in and for the Southern Regional Minister post. And as you say, she was the first woman minister in the Nation of Islam, and she was given a regional post. And I started working with her. The minister had a dream or a vision or whatever you might want to call it, that he begins to teach us that we should go after the learning of our people, because of a lot of the people used to think that nobody but ignorant, backwood thugs, robbers, and those kind of people join the Nation of Islam. And he started teaching, if we can captivate the minds of the learners among our people, that they can take this teaching overnight.
Yes,
So
sir.
he told us to start looking around in the mosque for our replacement. And Brother Jamie, who's the minister right now, he came to be with us in 1996, I guess as a result of the Million Man March. Him and his big brother Troy came, and Troy was my captain, wonderful black man, humble as a church mouse. I mean, hard working. I admire Brother Troy for his humbleness and his willingness to get along. It took a lot for Brother Troy to get riled up. You know what I'm saying? He was
Yes,
just
sir.
that
Yes,
kind
sir.
of brother. But don't rile him up. I tell you that. You know what I'm saying? They say sometimes on the pot slow to ball, it's just that difficult to cool off,
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
you don't want to get him riled up. And so when I saw Jamie, to me, he had everything that we needed. He was a handsome black man. He was tall and real dark and smooth. His skin was like nice and smooth, and he had teeth was like pearls, and you know what I'm saying. And he was a fresh graduate from Savannah State University. He was, in my mind, he was ideal as a replacement. I spoke with him about being the assistant, and he accepted it, And Sister Minister Eva and I, we worked it pretty good together, but it was, but there was a little friction between me and her husband a couple of times, which was not good, because when I met Sister Minister Eva and her husband, she was not the regional minister; that she was the national representative. And I had her in the city of Savannah. I think she was in there 3 times. I had all the big boys in there. You know what I'm saying? I had Dr. Collins. Collins used to live in Savannah. You know what I mean? Brother Tony, Sister Minister Ava, Brother Jamil, Brother Van. We had them all. They was. I mean, and Brother Curtis. I mean, we always had something to do in the city of Savannah. We were really on the move, and so, and in the year 2000, when we got ready for the Millions Family March, the Million Family March, after we came back from the Million Family March, Sister Minister Ava, 1999, your granddaddy died. Your Brother Sharif's father. And we were all requested to wear our FY uniforms and show up at his service, his going home service. I had gotten sick. First time I had gotten sick, I was due to stress. My wife decided that she didn't want to be married no longer. And it kind of threw me for a loop, Because when I was out there in the world doing everything under the sun that give any woman the right to leave a man and hold her head up and say, I tried with that man, but he was this and he was that, And but she stuck with me by God's grace. I appreciate her. And I had been in the Nation of Islam for 10 years, And she came to me one day and said, brother, I'm unhappy. And I didn't know why she was unhappy. She said, to me, it's no different I said, what do you mean it's no different? She said, you brought me over here and you left me in this big house by myself. And to me, it's no different, because now instead of running behind the streets like I was doing, I'm running behind the nation now. I'm globetrotting with the minister. I'm going everywhere and everywhere he is, and and I'm supporting him in every way, and we were trying to build up Savannah. And a lot of times I would stay with the brothers a little too long. We would put the Final Call newspaper late into the night, 11, 12 o'clock at night. We at the bus station, we at the clubs, we at everywhere, man. We soldiering, And then instead of going home to eat, we at Shoney's, getting a cup of coffee 1 o'clock at night, man. You know what I mean? Some of the brothers keep taking the French fries and cheese and stuff. I didn't do that, but with a cup of coffee and stuff, and hanging out with their brothers. I loved it so, and forgot my responsibilities at home. I'm not blaming her for anything. And it's been 20 years now. I'm not blaming her for anything. But I just loved it, the program. And I just love being with the brothers, And she said it was no different. You were chasing dope, running and going, talking about you working, selling it. Now you're doing the same thing with these Final Call newspaper in the Nation of Islam, And I told her, I said, you could go with me. So she said she loved it, the program, and she loved supporting it. But, the change that she wanted in me was to be more in the house with her. But I'm still going. And she was unhappy. And I really didn't understand that at that time. The minister taught me better later on. I made a mistake one time, and we were talking, and I said, you don't want me to choose, because if I got to choose, you're going to lose. And it broke my wife's heart. That woman didn't give me anything but 25 years of support and devotion. I got to give that to her, And I said that to her because I was just so in love with the program. I had that zeal, that zealousness, that kind of zeal and zealous that get you in trouble.
Yes,
That's
sir,
not
yes,
good. You understand? You
yes,
have to bring that under control. You got to struggle for balance. It's got to be equilibrium. It can't be just one way. And I was one way. And so I lost my wife, but I kept with the program, And then, brothers, in 1999, all these happened to me in 1999. Your father died. My wife decided that she wanted to make a change, and Sister Minister Ava decided that she wanted to make a change too at that time. Because I was older, and the thing with the Nation of Islam was that we wanted to bring young ministers up. The same thing we're doing now. We're trying to get youth to lead the way, And so she told me that she wanted to produce a cadre of ministers in this general area, because Savannah was a seaport town, and the Savannah was one of the apples in the minister's eye, And she wanted to have a cadre of ministers,
yes,
And I said, okay. And she said, I want to bring Brother Juan back in to help you here in the city of Savannah. And I'm sitting there. I'm sick because I couldn't make it to your grandfather's going home service because I was sick. And she called me from Brunswick on the way back to Atlanta, asking me could I meet her in Savannah for this meeting. And I told her, yes, ma'am. And when I got to the meeting, I had lost a lot of weight at that time. She said, oh my God, Brother Prince, you sick. Lost a lot of weight. I said, yes, ma'am, but I'm all right. I was just heartbroken, man. My wife had left me, and I didn't know why. And I was trying to find a reason to blame her, But the minister taught us that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, there is no such thing as a no good woman. If you find a no good woman, she was made no good somewhere, somehow, by some no good man, because God didn't make her like that. And so I take the blame for all of that moving forward. And so when she said she wanted to bring a cadre of ministers, I was sick. My wife had done left me. I told her in these words, that's the Sister Minister Ava. I said, I don't have a problem working with Brother Minister Juan, not at all. I've worked with him before. I said, why don't I go a step further? And she said, what do you mean by that, Brother Minister? I said, why don't I just come in and turn the leadership over to Brother Juan? And she said, would you do that? I said, yes, ma'am, I'll do that. And she looked at me for a while and she said, okay, it was because my wife had left me, I just felt like I messed up, you know, and I didn't feel fit to be anything anymore, to be honest with you. And so she said, okay, reluctantly, she said, okay. So I came in that Sunday, and I asked the believers who had supported me so faithfully for 9 years, because we did everything. We had every if feast. I would bring in a big keynote speaker from somewhere.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
didn't, I didn't, I didn't tell you now. We had when the minister sent Ben Shavers on the tour. You remember him on the tour, Million Man March tour?
Mm.
Dr. Reverend Ben Shavers.
Yes, sir.
All right, he came to Savannah. I had them. I had the mayor of the city of Savannah, Floyd Adams, to give him the key to the city, and to meet him at the Georgia-Florida border and give him a police escort into the city of Savannah. And they did that, you know. And but it took them so long to get him here. Floyd Adams had prior engagement because he said he can only give us 30, 40 minutes of his time. And that was more than enough of the mayor time. He's a busy man. And it took them a little more time than we anticipated getting him from the Georgia-Florida border to Savannah. So Mayor Floyd Adams gave me, he said, can I make the presentation to you? And then you make the presentation to him. I said, I had no problem doing that. He gave me the presentation, it wasn't mine. And when Brother Ben Shavers got there, I gave the beautiful key to the city of Savannah, to the great city of Savannah, to him in representation of the mayor, Brother Floyd Adams. You know, and they liked it. It was a good thing, and we kept pushing the program. We had gotten up to, we had 40, I think it was 42, could have been 45 registered believers in 1999. We was getting ready to participate for our charter, our number. Yes, we were trying to get the old number back that we had when the messenger was with us. And but we kept on pushing. Brother Jamie now and Brother Juan, 1999, you know, I moved on and I opened up a bookstore called the Respect for Life Bookstore and Whatnots. Nice building, very nice. I mean, it was really big. And in the back part of it, it was big enough for a game room. And I went into business with Dr. Marshall and his brother, Charles Marshall. Dr. Marshall died a few months ago from COVID-19. He was the first doctor in the state of Georgia that died from COVID-19, Dr. Marshall, in Americus, Georgia. He was a good doctor. He wanted me to try to help his brother, Charles Marshall, and he would do anything to help us. He gave me, I don't know, I think it was $10,000 and told me to go buy some pool tables. And I went and bought 5 brand new pool tables and had put it in the back of the building. I'm running the bookstore up front. Charles is supposed to run the pool game room in the back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but he didn't want to do it according to the rules. It was not supposed to be no profanity, no gambling, and no looking at brothers' wives. It's a family thing. This, you know, it's not, if you want the other kind of go to the bar, that's, they have that kind, but this is for family. And we had a couple of video games for the children, you know, and it lasts for about maybe, I think about 3, no more than 4 months before it dissolved, because he was doing things at night that wasn't supposed to be done. And as a result of it, me being a Muslim and a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I could not participate in that. So we had a meeting of the mind, he and I.
Yes, sir.
And my mind overpowered his. And so I got a call from his brother, Dr. Marshall, and he told me that they're going to resolve their partnership with me, and that if I wouldn't mind selling the pool tables and give them the money back, that would be fine. And I told him I had no problem doing that. And I did it and gave them the funds back. So now I got a big open area. The mosque is now on Left Borders Avenue. They're on Henry and Abercombe, but they're in a 2-story church. I mean, a 2-story house, big house, but it was up a bunch of flight of steps, you know? And so I went to them and told them, if I remodel the back part of the bookstore for the mosque, would they come and join me there? And Brother Jamie and them said, yes, they would. And I remodeled it good too. It was beautiful. I like doing things like that, you know? and it was good. They came in and joined in with me. I had 1/3 of the building. I gave them 2/3 of the building, you know, and we was able to. We could get 100 people in there with a few of them around the wall, you know, and we stayed there for about 8 years, and we put on the Million Family March. We were blessed to do that. I think we took 3 buses to Washington D.C. And we did that. Then we came back and we did also the Million More Movement. And when I mean that, we organized it. We provided the bus services, and we also control and conduct them in the proper manner to get there and to get them back without any problems, you know?
Yes, sir.
And I used to have a bunch of brothers that with me. I love going places with the brothers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't like going places without brothers. I love going with the brothers. I love being, when I'm with the brothers, I'm invincible. I'm strong. I can do anything.
Yes,
when I'm
sir.
with the brothers, I can do anything with the brothers. I'm telling you, you know, and especially when they believe in you. And it's difficult, brother. Listen to this, girl. When you got the men and women believing in you, man, you load in a skunker worse than a dog if you deceive them and take advantage of people who trust you, you know? And they begin to trust me. I had one brother with me. He was like a son to me. He's still with me now too. Brother Marlon. Brother Marlon's up there with y'all. He's going to help y'all with y'all new Mars. He's an engineer and working for a Fortune 500 company up there in Atlanta right now, doing real well. And we had Brother James, who was both of us. It was no such thing as right hand and left hand. All of them was my right hand. You know
Yes,
what
sir.
I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because they was younger than me, and they kept me on point, man. They were, you know, they would get me research information for me. They would help me with some of the big words and stuff, you know. They were brilliant, and they helped, man, you know. And so in 2005, we went to the Me Small movement. We organized. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Prince, I got to do a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors, and then we coming right back to you because we have so many comments, so many people showing you love. Thank you, Brother Daniel, Sister Miriam, my sister Miriam, Brother Benjamin Shabazz P.I., who says he knows you from Jessup, Georgia, and the great work that you've done.
Yeah, I was there too. I'll tell you about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to come to all of that, but I want to make sure that I announce a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. I can't wait to put this on YouTube. Please continue to like, share, and of course, subscribe to the People's Podcast to continue the work that we are doing. If you would like to be a sponsor or donor, please cash app the People's Podcast. Thank you very much. My brother Rashad, Street Premiere Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Thank you very much, brother Rashad. Also, my sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, both of which are available on Amazon. Make sure you go out and get those. Studio, if you like young girls to learn ballet, we love our tiny dancers. The MTS Car Bros, any make, any model, any year, 30 to 50% off. Thank you very much. If you all want some vehicles, reach out to our brothers out of the West Coast. Also, we have a new sponsor dealing with Raw Communications. What they offer is copy editing, project management, content development, media relations, and consulting. Thank you. Let's make sure we reach out to Sister Rashida. If you need help writing your book, contact Raw Communications today. What we offer is copy editing, project management, content development, and media relations and counseling. Make sure you reach out to 872-215-5155. Thank you very much, Sister Rashida. To Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you all across the country. Thank you very much. We're coming right back to Brother Minister Prince very shortly. Brother Hip Hop Detox, Brother Enoch out of Chicago. It empowers youth and young adults towards a healthy lifestyle choices and a productive way of life through a holistic approach. Thank you very much. Asiatic Minds Online School. This is an amazing school. If you dealing with the pandemic, if you want your children going back with the mask, send them online to Asiatic Minds Online Schools, asiaticminds.com. Thank you very much. Sister Latasha Muhammad, Queen is Eye Poetry and Apparel. Amazing Poetry and Great Apparel. Thank you very much to Latasha Muhammad. Fresh and Clean LLC, Fresh and Clean Sanitizing.com. Thank you very much. Also, Elevated Places Incorporated, Adult Counseling, Youth Counseling, and Life Management, 229-344-1474. Our brother Aaron, thank you very much. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. My father's book, Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 Disinfecting Cleaning Services out of Chicago. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And also, last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Thank you all very much for every sponsor, every donor. We're right back to our brother Minister Prince Muhammad out of Savannah, Georgia. Thank you very much, Sister Lovey, for always showing love in the comments. Boom. Brother Prince, I had some follow-up questions I want to go to you with. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes, sir. You spoke of being shot earlier.
Okay.
How did that impact you, and what advice would you give to people who are dealing with that?
Well, I had two incidents with being shot, brother.
Hmm.
In 1969, if I had gotten that car with the brothers and went to New York to Savior's Day with those brothers, I would have missed being shot. You know, I got shot in 1969 in my neck. I got shot once then. And it wasn't anything like I was robbing or doing something I shouldn't be doing. I was coming out of a pool room, and I was standing on the side of a tree, behind a tree, relieving myself, if you understand.
Yes, sir.
And another friend of mine was playing with a gun, and he always come and play, like to do that. And I was saying, Bird, you need to stop playing with that gun before you hurt somebody. And he said, man, we going downtown. You going with us? I said, no, I'm going home. Me and Whitman, my cousin, the name was Whitman Keys. He and I was going to walk home together. I wasn't going downtown with him that night. And I was standing beside the tree, and he was standing right beside me, as I said, relieving myself. And Bird was playing with the gun. And he fired the weapon, and pow. And somehow the bullet went around the tree and hit me in my neck. I ran. I said, my God, the man shot me. And I ran up to him. I said, Bird, you shot me. He said, no, I ain't shot you. What you talking about? I shot down this way. And everybody was saying, he didn't even shoot in your direction, man. You know, I said, you shot me, man. He said, no, I didn't. You know, you better go if I do shoot you. So I ran into the pool room, and the man who ran the pool room name was Jay Mackey. I said, Jay, Bird shot me. He said, that man didn't shoot you, stunt. I said, yes, he did. And I took my collar of my shirt and pulled it down, and he saw the hole in my neck. And when he saw the hole in my neck, he saw, oh, Lord, he did. So and then they saw it too. He said, man, I didn't mean to shoot you. Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Take the gun and shoot me back. I said, man, take me to the hospital. So they took me to the hospital. Same person who shot me took me to the hospital, and I had a surgery. And the thing was, they swear right now today that they perform a surgery on me, brother. And I keep telling them nobody touched me. They took me in the emergency room to perform the surgery. And then the doctor said, no, don't worry about it. And, you know, and I still carry that. No, I got two things mixed up, brother. I got two things mixed up. I'm sorry. Because I got shot twice, as I said. No, when I got shot in the neck and Bird took me to the hospital, they did perform a surgery on my neck and to remove the bullet and stuff, and left a good scar on the side of my neck. And I used to walk around, they used to call me the man with the Hingham scar. And I used to have my shirt pulled up around my neck all the time. And there was an old lady one day, she saw me and she told me what to do. Because I suffer from keloid skin. You know, if you're familiar with keloid, if you get cut or scratch or something, your body have a tendency to overcompensate. Instead of making the damaged area look like it normally look, it overcompensated. It'll put double amount. It's called keloid, you know, and it'll protrude. And she told me what it was and what to do. And by God's grace, she was correct. You know, and she asked me, did I do any drinking? I told her, no, ma'am. I did drink, but it wasn't anything that I had to do, you know. And she told me if I didn't drink and do what she told me to do, that it would go away. It didn't go away, but the scar is not visible. You really got to look to see the scar now, you know. But it has been back into my skin. And I overcame that. I got back up and I started doing what I wasn't supposed to be doing again. And in 1969, 2001, I got shot again. I got shot in my back this time. And I wasn't doing anything either. But what I was doing, trying to be a good Samaritan, my partner and I were in business together, and we were selling marijuana. And the guy who sold the marijuana didn't like dealing with me. When I was young, they thought I was a little wild. He didn't like dealing with me too much. So they told you send my partner, who was more calmer and he could deal with it better than with me. So I told him, I'll sit over here at the club until you come back, go get our work, brother, because we have to put that to work in the night because the longshoremen gonna have all that money and we gotta try to get some of it. And so he said, okay, but instead of him going to get the work, he stopped by a crap game and they started playing dice. And him and the guy who he was playing dice with got into an altercation over the money. And the guy struck him and he broke the bottle and cut the guy, Joe Lee. We knew the man. The name was Joe Lee. In fact, Joe Lee had married my cousin. And I thought that I could talk with Joe Lee, you know, but one thing led to another. When it got dark, I said, well, we're gonna need to go over to Sam Bowers, which is the name of the club. And all the longshoremen are gonna be over there. And, you know, they got all this loose money and trying to impress these young girls. Let's go over here and see if we can have some of this. So on the way over there, I told him that he needs to go inside and I'm gonna stay outside to see if I could talk with Joe Lee them if they came up and see if we can straighten this thing out. And so I was outside and during that time I used to drink wine. I never was an alcohol drinker. I was drinking wine. And Joe Lee did not come up, but his brother Tonka, he came up and he asked me where was Hollywood at. So he was gonna kill Hollywood and he was gonna mess me up, you know? And I told him, I said, I know what you're gonna mess up, you know? And he got real close to me. I mean, I'm standing up, I'm 6'3.5". I'm weighing about 190. It's a little small man. He about your size, brother Joe, a little small man, you know? And he came up to me with a gun. I wasn't thinking that he was gonna shoot me. I wasn't worried about him shooting me. And when he got close enough, I grabbed him. And when I grabbed him, he was mine, as far as I was concerned. I done got him now. And when I picked him up to do away with him, I didn't see his other brother, and he shot me in the back. And when he shot me in the back, I fell. And it's history. I've been in a wheelchair now for 50 years. I've been in a wheelchair for 50. I'm going on 51 years this year. And Allah is God, but I haven't looked back. I've done so many things from this wheelchair, and I've been so many places, and I've accomplished so many things. I thought I wouldn't say the wheelchair was a blessing. The wheelchair was not a blessing, but I'm blessed in the chair, if you understand. You know, I'm all right. Allah God has made things sufficient for me, and He's provided for me, and He's been taking care of me. And as I said, I've been in this chair for 50, going on 51 years, and I'm just as strong as any man who might be in a chair at 71 years old. You know, so I'm good to go. I think He's got some more use for me. I hadn't finished serving Him, and I don't think I'm going nowhere anytime soon. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. You spoke about dealing with drugs.
Yes.
What advice would you give to people who are battling addiction?
Oh, you know what? I guess you can say that I was addicted. I wasn't addicted like the normal drug addict that had to have it every day. I had to put my work in first. And when I got a certain amount of money, after I got that certain amount of money, I had an urge now. I want to go smoke something. So I might smoke something once a month. But when I smoked it like an alcoholic who is trying to kick the habit, and all of a sudden he got a taste. And now he's going to drink alcohol until he becomes soaked in it, drenched in it, until he gets the DDTs, you know? And I used to do not crack cocaine, but I came through the era of freebasing it, you know, with freebasing, cooking it up. Same principles as the crack, but only thing it didn't have a lot of the methamphetamines that the crack cocaine has in it. It had more cocaine, and so we freebased it. And we would have speakeasies where we'd go around with a fancy bag, and inside the bag you got your pipe and all your little gadgets in it and stuff. And 2 or 3 o'clock at night, when everybody's going home and the clubs are closing, all the players will get together and throw a few $100s on the table, and they go get them an ounce or a half an ounce, and they're sniffing and smoking all night until the sun come up, and just talking. They call it speakeasy, and we kicking the Willy Bobo, talking smack and trash to one another, while we're getting high. And I used to like to do mine with Harvey Biscuit cream, I have me a sip of cherry while I'm smoking, and it grew like any habit would. When I started smoking it once a month, and it might have lasted for 2 or 3 years, once a month. Then eventually I started my once a month turn into 3 weeks, every 3 weeks. And then it got to every 2 weeks. And, but now that's over a period of time. With me, it's never got to every week and every day. It never got to that point, because when I became 40 years old, I knew it was time to change or I wasn't going to make it. And so I went to my wife and told her that we needed to change. She didn't do anything. Sweet woman, she didn't. And I didn't really deserve it. I didn't, but God blessed me with her. I didn't deserve it, but he blessed me with her. And we stayed together for 25 years. And I hope wherever she's at, she's doing fine. And if I ever get a chance to tell her, I only want to say one thing: I'm sorry. That's it. And I hope that you see in him, whoever you're with, that which you didn't see in me. I just hope that for her, But anyway, I never got to every day and every week for me, and then I would hide, because see, I would work in Savannah, and I drove 60 miles from Savannah back to Beaufort, South Carolina. I lived on Ladies Island, and I didn't smoke that over there. They didn't know nothing about my turbulence over there. I didn't sell nothing over there, nothing, because my uncle was over there, and my uncle, he was my lifeline. He built my home that I was in, and and he had prestige and presence in the community, and I didn't want to bring embarrassment and shame to the man after the man had gotten me out of the hood and put me in an area where I could thrive and be looked upon as a function, productive person in the community, in the society in which he lived in. I wanted to be responsible. I wanted to be productive, and over there I could be. So I wasn't going to ever sell nothing over there, and I didn't. And we stayed over there for 25 years together, she and I. Yeah, she and I. We lived a whole new different life over there. We had our boat and stuff. I had a big liner cruiser boat, and it was nice. It was really nice. It was better than nice, and I didn't deserve any of it, but God blessed me with it, and so that's what took place. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. What do you do for fun, brother Prince?
What do I do for fun?
Yes, sir.
For the last 16 months, I got hold up fever being in this house by myself. But what I do for fun is the work. I love doing the work. Mm-hmm. I love being in the mosque with the brother. I mean, it's a full-time job. I mean, I go to Islamic events and participate in Islamic activities, but I don't do anything in the world now. Yes, but sir. You know what? I'm gonna stick a pin in that. Let's go back. For 20 years, first 20 years, I didn't look at sports or participate in anything that I didn't watch football, baseball, basketball. I didn't know who was what. But I noticed that a lot of the brothers in the nation and stuff, they watched the sports and stuff, and they use a lot of the sports analogies in their presentation of the teaching sometimes.
Yes, sir.
So I watch basketball one time a year, which is what it is, the NBA playoffs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I watch that once a year. I watch the Super Bowl once a year. I find out from the younger brothers who I'm supposed to be rooting for, and so I look for that person. Why are you laughing, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And stuff, and so lately, I never knew Kobe Bryant. I knew of his name, but I really did not know how talented the man was until he died.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I did not know the man was shooting 81 points and six. Because I wasn't watching sports.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was studying, trying to be fit to be called a student minister of the Honorable Minister Min Farrakhan. I spend a lot of my time doing that, trying to feel worthy. you know, but now I watch, as I said, I watch a little bit of it. Now I like the fights. Now I always kept my eye on the fights.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I like the fights, and I kept my eye on the fights. Now that's for real. And I love the Olympics. Now when the Olympics comes on, oh, I'm watching it every day for 2 weeks. I'm watching it, man.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
watching everybody. Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm telling you, I love it. I love it. I watch all the events. I watch kayaking, man. You know, what black folks know about that? You know, you know. But but I watches it and I enjoy the Olympics. So that's one of my relief mechanism. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. What type of music do you listen to?
I don't rhythm and blues. I like that old stuff. I still can't understand them rap boys. Just can't catch it. I mean, I just can't. I listen and I try to catch it, but when it gets so raunchy, I really don't understand why how come we've become such a degenerate race of people, a group of people, that we can allow our women and children to listen to such filth and respond to it. I mean, them boys be saying all kind of stuff and eat people clothes and whatnot. And then you see little babies and little girls, and they be gyrating and bouncing to that filth. And if you say something about it, they ostracize you. You know, you the bad guy because you're saying what they're doing ain't right. All of a sudden, you become the bad guy. So, but I got you know, for instance, like Luther Vandross. I just found out that Luther could sing as well as he could after he died. And, you know, I wasn't listening to that, and I started listening. I said, Luther can sing. Damn, I said, I missed the guy. I mean, the man gone. And people was going around saying, which one of them Luther you like, the fat Luther or the little Luther? I'm not even aware of it, you know. But I'm aware of it now, you know. I'm aware of it right now. So yeah, I listen to the same kind of music your daddy listened to, rhythm and blues, little jazz, and stuff like that. You know, I like the old artists. I'm not too familiar with these new guys, you know. But if that's what it takes to save them, I'll sure get familiar with it. Whatever it takes to help the minister save these people, I'm willing to jump into it headlong. Yes, I am.
Beautiful.
Any more questions?
Yes, sir. Sister Minister Aisha from Phoenix says, good interview. Thank you for watching and showing love as always, Sister Minister. Yes, sir. I have 2 more questions for you. Well, one more question for you, but I just had to make a quick statement. I was blessed to go to your bookstore in person last time with my father. It was a phenomenal event. It was good to see you doing for self, and I got a book from your bookstore that I read. I let somebody borrow. They never should never let somebody borrow, but I enjoyed going to your bookstore. I want to thank you on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience for your sacrifice, for the sacrifice of your family. We thank Allah for you and the work that you put in the city of Savannah and throughout the southern region as well. What would you like your legacy to be, sir?
A servant, a devoted servant, man. That's all I want to be. I want somebody who helped somebody along the way. Remember me for helping somebody, you know? And I would like to get into that aspect of it. You know, I'm going to digress a couple of my little points I made because I want to stay on point. But with the question, I wanted to state actual facts as close as I could to remembering what took place. But in 2007 is when your father called me up to say that y'all ain't got no more use for him. I got use for him, and called me up and had a believers meeting, and he gave me the title, his role in bishop of the southern region, you know, and he sent me to Brunswick and the Waycross and the Beaufort, and that's what the brother was letting you know the work that we did. We did some great work in the early 2000s down there with Brother Minister Otis and Brunswick and the Wick, and Brother Jeffrey over there in Waycross with Sister Constant and Brother Wilbert and Brother Clay and all them. They're still over there. They're waiting on me to come back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm coming. You know, Brother Minister Reef done give me a third tour of duty. He said, when we start this thing up again, he wanted me to go back down there and do it again. And I can't wait. I told Brother Marlon and I told Brother James, who's my team, I couldn't do a thing without him. You know, I used to call myself the orientator. I am the orientator. I'm going to X you, and I'm going to X you in 4 to 6 weeks. And if you're retarded, I'm still going to X you. It's just going to take a little longer. You know, I'm the orientator. You know, That's what my thing back in them days, man. And I'll get geeked up and go ready to do it again because I loved it and whatnot. So we're gonna, Brother Sharif, so we can start that back up again and see if we can get Brunswick and Waycross fired up, and then over to Buford. We did some great work in Buford too, over there with Sister Grace and whatnot, you know, and beautiful sister. She bought a building from but she didn't buy it, but she leased it from one of these big wigs over there. It was a department store. And she called me and Brother Marlon, Brother James over there and wanted to turn the department store into a mosque and she and whatnot. And brother, she brought her own a carpenter. And I looked at the place and I told her, we should do this, we should do it, we should do the yada yada. And that man went to work. And as a result of it, we had no problem. And he said the work was done. We went on in there and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Your father was over there a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Brother Minister Dow was over there, you know, and but we kind of dropped the ball in Buford because Buford was kind of uphill for us. It's uphill struggle. And the reason why is because it was you're in the county and it's a lot of space. It ain't like in them cities, everybody next door and on top of each other. You know, in the country, your next neighbor might be maybe 100, maybe 200 yards from you, you know? And you got to walk that distance and you're trying to push the paper in the hot sun, you'll be ineffective. And we weren't as effective as we wanted to be, not because of the distance between the neighbors, it was because we went up against great opposition because they had the Naval Air Base over there, and that's the home of the Marine Corps Paris Island Depot over there, you know? Mm-hmm. And you got so many mixed people that was interracial mixing and marriages over there and stuff. And then you had the Gulf War that we wasn't liked over there due to the Gulf War. And people, my so-and-so got killed in Iraq, he was in Kuwait. These are the type of opposition that we were coming up against when we went door to door over there. But Brother Nathaniel and Brother John and Sister Grace, and that uphill struggle for them was like candy. They loved it, you know. And Brother Nathaniel, he got hurt and he was in a wheelchair. And I guess he used me for his example. He was out there pushing that program in that chair door to door. The only thing about that I when I went over there, I told him we had to change was I didn't like him going to door by himself. Mm-hmm. So he would go door to door by himself, man. He had no problem with it, man, and sell them papers, you know, and he'll do it right now, you know. But he got some new challenges he's dealing with. But he was dedicated and real strong. We trained him in Savannah and we sent him to Boston with Brother Don them. And he soldiered up there for several years. And in fact, he became a squad leader and he was on the minister's security detail, you know, Brother Nathaniel. Great work. I trained him as well. We all came out of Ladies Island, Beaufort, South Carolina together, and we came to Savannah to help nation building over here with the rest of the believers, Brother Sheldon and Brother Anthony and the Pioneer Brothers, you know. We did a lot of good work. And then when your daddy sent me over there, we really did some good work. But we're gonna go back over there again to help Brother Otis because that's one of the apples in your father's eye, the wick. You know, that's his home. That's his home turf. You know, and he wanted to see Brother Otis and the believers down there real strong. I'm moving up now to the 10-10-15. You know, we did that one too. The 21st anniversary of the Million Man March when we all went back to Washington. We put that event on too. Savannah's participated in all of them. The Million Man March, the Million Family March, the Million More Movement, even the women's we participated. I didn't have anything to do per se with it, but Brother Minister Jamie and Brother Alton, they might have took about 500 bead pies up there and they sold every one. Mm-hmm. And came because Brother Alton was a baker. And what we did on Waters Avenue, we had a section in the building where Brother Alton brought in one of them pizza ovens. You know, long pizza oven. And boy, we were selling bean pie like we owned the place, you know. We've did a lot of good work in the city of Savannah, bar none, you know. And when we went to 10-10-15, it was also a stellar event for us. Because every time we would go, Brunswick would go along with us, Waycross would go along with us. We were a strong community and we worked real close together. And every time we have an event in Savannah, you can look for Brother Otis to bring the family up. and you can see Brother Clay and them from Waycross making that long journey, and Sister Constant and Brother Wilbur and all the strong believers over there in Waycross. I shout out to you brothers over there. I'm coming real soon. The minister done told we can come again, and we're gonna help them get back online and do this great work together. And we all going to finish it together because we started many years ago, and we don't want to quit the field of battle until we accomplish the mission. And the mission is not yet accomplished, but it's right in front of us.
That's right. Praise be to Allah. So many people showing you love on Facebook, and please continue to like, share, subscribe. Once we put it on YouTube, now that I'm about to put it on YouTube, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on, Minister Prince Muhammad, and I want to thank everyone who is watching. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brother Joshua.
Thank you.
God bless.
Yes, sir. Okay, 1 second. Of course, it's doing this right now. All right. Come on, I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. All right, assalamu alaikum, family. I don't know why. Nope.